What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my live stream. I'll raise the microphone up a little bit. Today, I want to talk about something very important. There's a ton of tension happening in crypto. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so many other coins are getting more and more tensed. There's something huge about to happen in crypto, and I want to talk about that. First of all, let's start with a quick update on Bitcoin because Bitcoin's doing something very interesting. I've been talking about this for about like 4 or 5 days already, and it's the fact that we're still trying to test the support. The longer we wait, the worse this chance of us rising up gets. But this does not mean that this pump will not happen. We can still make this pump super easily, but we just have to confirm support. And the longer we wait, though more the tension grows and the bigger the pump or the fall will be. Because now, if we fall below this level, there's so much volatility that is being held, so much RSI, there's so much little momentum happening that is causing us not to rise up. And as soon as something crazy is going to happen, well, the market will just go crazy. And not just for Bitcoin, because what I want to talk about majorly today, the majority of this Bitcoin the majority of this live stream will actually be dedicated to Ethereum, not Bitcoin, because I want to talk about Ethereum for a while. So Ethereum does follow Bitcoin. It does have some similarities, but it does a lot of things differently. Here is the same channel that Bitcoin is rising up to, but in Ethereum. So if I go on the weekly time frame, you can see this channel right over here, this orange one. In Bitcoin, it's the same one on the Ethereum time frame. It's actually shown on the daily time frame on there. I don't know why I switched to the weekly time frame. So you can see the similarities, but you can also see the differences between these two charts. Ethereum does look like it pumps and falls more than Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin charts, and this is Ethereum charts. It's a bit different. It's majorly the major thing being this pump right over here that caused Ethereum to rise to 2,100 before falling down all the way to 1,600, compared to Bitcoin, who didn't break. Compared to Bitcoin, who actually went higher than its previous peak right over here. Bitcoin had a fall of around 20%, and Ethereum had a fall of 24%. So Ethereum's a bit more volatile. But just like Bitcoin, which is almost about to confirm support at this orange line, and we were almost about to confirm support and we started rising up. Just like Bitcoin, Ethereum also almost confirmed support at this support level, but started to rise up. And what I want to get y'all's attention in the most is this indicator right over here. This is a very big indicator. This is these two white lines. This is a bullish pennant or a falling wedge. Big indicator. This indicator could take us all the way up to $2,000 once again, because this is a bullish indicator and it's a continuation pattern. Because this previous rise, it took us to $2,000 and caused it to fall back down here, this is an ABC correction wave that causes us to rise up. This was the first wave, right over here. My arrow broke. This is the first wave. Second wave caused us to fall back down, and if this is a continuation pattern, then the third wave should take us to the about target of 2,100. Here's the only issue. We do not have the amount of momentum that we need. Here, let me point out some indicators. When there are breakouts of patterns, we get big spikes in one, volatility, and two, there's an indicator called the MACD. We can get rid of the other ones and just focus on the MACD. This indicator right over here that flips to the green and spikes very, very big, has very big spikes when something is reversing. For example, we were right over here at this red candle, and then we had a very large, fast spike over to the green line. And as you can see, it's not that big. We barely entered the green phase. And what this means is that there's an absence in volatility. There's not that much momentum happening. And that's exactly why Ethereum, not just Ethereum, but mainly cryptos, you can see the same exact thing. They are not rising up. And we cannot set a date for this pattern right over here. This is actually not even 100% going to happen, because this pattern, if we fall below this white line once again, it could invalidate this pattern. So you can't just based on if we pumped it, for example, confirm resistance or support. You actually need to wait for us to confirm support and start rising up. And that's why if we go on the hourly time frame, there is another indicator that we are in right now. It is a bull flag. And this bull flag, if we confirm support on the white line, could take us all the way up to around, if we take our line right over here and check the price target, this bull flag could take us all the way up to $1,900. If we do that, well, first of all, it will be the start of a small trend on the hourly time frame. It'll break the previous high, making a higher high. It's a bullish thing. Two, it'll confirm support technically on this level and start this pump up. But once again, without the absence of volatility or the absence of the pump in the MACD, we can see that there is no, if I go in the daily time frame, which is where it is, there is no momentum. There's no money going into Bitcoin. For some reason, the tensions keep going and nothing seems to be happening. And this could be primarily due to the fact that we are still inside of a huge support and resistance area. So this is the Fibonacci retracement, a big indicator for testing and seeing how far we're going to fall. And if we look in the past right over here, we can see that these supports were very, very respected. We fell down to the 0.5 many, many times, but technically these dumps signify the end of a B wave and the start of a new C wave. And right now, as we speak, we are bouncing around between this 0.5 level, this golden pocket, this golden line right over here, and this purple line, the 0.382 level. These are two very big support and resistance levels. And so that means that right now, we can continue bouncing around inside of this box for so long and continuing to grow our tension. Tension is rising in crypto a ton. And this little tiny bull flag on the hourly time frame might not even be able to take us out of this level. Even though the price target is higher than this level at 1,900, which is halfway between this purple line and the red line, even though it's that far, this resistance line is such a big level that it could cause us to keep bouncing around. And once again, without some big volatility spikes or MACD spikes, without some momentum showing on the indicators, we cannot see a pump happen. So we need to watch out for the volume. I talked about this on the Bitcoin chart for a while now. This indicator right over here, this pattern, this bull flag will only break out once we get a spike on the volatility that breaks this huge line. If I can just zoom in and show you guys, we have this white bull flag that can take us all the way up to $3,000, $30,000. $34,000. But for us to actually break out of this level, we need this spike in volatility like we have tried to do in the past already 4 times. And just so you know, the more we actually test the support level, the weaker it gets. So we can see that we have already tested it 4 times. It's starting to get weak, but this doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to break it on the next time. And as you guys can see, this level, this line is getting smaller and smaller every day, which means that the amount of Bitcoin coming in, if it wants to stay below this white line, it needs to get smaller and smaller, which means more people are waiting for something big. There's more tension, and then 1 second goes by and that tension will all explode. The longer we wait for us to confirm support at this level, the longer we wait, the longer the volatility does not get higher or lower, the bigger this pump will happen. And as I mentioned, the supports and resistance getting weaker. This is the Bitcoin chart, by the way. We have already tapped this support 1, 2, 3, 4 times. This support level is also getting weaker, which is a bit unsettling, because if we do break below this level and confirm resistance, well, we could see a fall all the way down to $28,000, 300. I talked about this in my previous live stream a bit more, so if you guys want to, you can go back to that live stream and watch it there, but I'm going to quickly cover it. If we break below this resistance, it can cause a huge chain reaction. We could fall down to 28,400, and if we manage to confirm support, there is a chance we could actually rise back up. This could be either a huge level where we get rejected, and that rejection could cause us to fall very, very far to 27,900, tapping the support level and completing the cycle. Or we right now confirm support at this level and break out of this indicator. This is what I'm talking about, huge tension happening. You can see that these resistance lines are about to meet each other, and they meet each other right over here, the 13th of August, if I remove all these lines. And so until the 13th of August, and not even the 13th of August, because once again, the price cannot just stay sideways that much. It will have to break out somewhere earlier, somewhere right over here. So right over here, this is the 13th of August. That is the maximum we can actually break out. Not over here at the 14th of August. We have about 2 days left before we will see where this momentum will go. We cannot keep going sideways. And for Ethereum, we will continue to bounce around inside of this level until we see momentum. Now, there's both good and bad news happening in the world. I talked about the Bitcoin ETF, which is a very bullish thing, but we had a report come out, the CPI inflation data. So let me read this through. The July Consumer Price Index, the CPI data, released today indicates that US inflation rose to 3.2, slightly below the expectations of 3.3. The core CPI inflation now stands at 4.7, under the anticipated 4.8. Now, that figure the figures mark the first monthly increase in CPI inflation since July 2022. Basically, the CPI that was expected to cause inflation to rise higher was actually priced at a lower point than expected. So what this means, and this actually caused Bitcoin to react in a slightly bearish way, because this might have been the reason that Bitcoin fell down. But we do not see a sort of reaction to this report. Now, I personally do not know if this is a bullish or bearish thing, but as people see right over here, the crypto market sways with the US CPI data release, and all this report just says is the fact that Bitcoin now saw a fall of 0.33%, which is what I'm talking about. Bitcoin slightly fell due to this report. And they are also talking about the MACD. It shows a bullish crossover because we can see a huge indicator on the MACD. If I go to the Ethereum time frame, Ethereum chart, we can see a huge indicator happening on the Bitcoin, on the Ethereum chart with the MACD. It flipped to the blue line. That could be, like this news article is saying, a bullish thing. But the problem is we see no momentum. So tensions continue to rise. We see bullish things. We see bearish things. So many things are happening, but tension is rising. And until until we break out of this channel right over here, we will continue to see the rise of tension more and more. Now, I also want to talk about a little bit about the other cryptos, because not just Ethereum and Bitcoin are seeing this tension. We have so many other cryptos seeing this tension. If we go and check the last price for the last 24 hours, only one crypto actually rose a lot, and that was Shiba Inu. Now, other coins, of course, did rise a little bit, 7.3% for this Bone Shiba swap. Kaspa rose 5%. But other than that, most coins just rose 3% or zero. Literally, just most of these coins have just been going sideways. You can see this is already like 20, 30 different coins that are just going sideways. They're not falling or rising at all. The tension is rising. And the worst thing that fell today was only 4%. And that was some kind of XDC network coin. So the market is literally growing in tension day after day, hour by after hour. And both for Ethereum and for Bitcoin, what's about to happen will be massive. Ethereum, if it breaks out of this bull flag, could reach 1,874 and tap this level. If we break this level, that is where all this massive momentum will come in. And for Bitcoin, that level is a bit higher at around $30,400. So literally the same exact things, but the tension continues to rise. Now, this is all that's happening in the crypto world. And with that being said, this is the end of my small analysis, but I want to answer a big question that I got yesterday. And by the way, feel free to leave some questions in the chat. So, one person decided to ask a very big question, and I want to discuss it. So, one person, is a friend of mine, decided to ask, what will happen when all Bitcoin are mined? That is a very big question, and good question too. And before I say that, I'm gonna grab myself a cup of water and then continue this chat. So, when all the Bitcoin are going to be mined, because as you guys know, Bitcoin has a cap of 21 million Bitcoin. You cannot mine more than that. And every single time a block is mined by a miner, he creates a couple Bitcoin, adding to that percentage of Bitcoin mined. Now, miners, Bitcoin will eventually, all the Bitcoin will eventually be mined. There are going to be no more Bitcoin coming out, new Bitcoin. Usually a miner gets around 6.25 Bitcoin every single time he mines. That's a big reward, but usually they split it between people because they usually work together. But what I'm trying to say is miners, once there are going to be no more rewards for them mining the Bitcoin, they will be mainly getting stuff from fees. And by the way, there have been already multiple blocks, at least two that I remember, that actually had fees that exceeded the actual block reward. So the block reward 6.25 Bitcoin per block. That's how much you get. And I wrote this down somewhere. Once there was actually 13 Bitcoin worth of tax in one block that was actually taken by miners as profit. So that is so much more than the block reward. Of course, this happens rarely, but it does happen. And with inflation happening and taxes rising in Bitcoin slowly but surely, when the Bitcoin block reward will end, there are going to be no more Bitcoin coming out for the miners to get. Well, they will be getting fees using Bitcoin. And the fact that Bitcoin is increasingly rising in price means that in the future, even if you get 0.05 Bitcoin, that technically could be $100,000 or something like that, like 0.1 Bitcoin, that could be $100,000 at when Bitcoin will be at 1 million. That's how it works. And so the more people mine, that doesn't change the how much Bitcoin will come out. That's another question somebody wrote. If more people mine, will Bitcoin blocks get mined faster? No. There's a 10-minute block limit for each miner, and all this means is that even if there's going to be 50,000 new miners coming in, it's very simple. Bitcoin has a very cool system that balances out this time of how long a block takes to actually come out to around 10 minutes. More people come in, it makes it a bit harder to find and to post this block. Less people come out, less people are in the blockchain, and Bitcoin just makes it super easily. It's a super smart system. It's a bit complicated for people to understand, but it's a cool system, and it allows blocks to come out evenly. And with all this data, with the blocks coming out at 10, one block every 10 minutes, we can actually predict when Bitcoin will run out, and that will be around the year of 2140. We will be all dead by then. But the reason, even though there are already 19 million Bitcoin released and there's 21 million in total, the reason there's 120 years or so left until all the Bitcoin get mined is because there's a smart system that causes the amount of Bitcoin you get per block to get divided by 2 every 4 years. It's actually specifically every 160,000 blocks, but that's about every 4 years. So every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that you will get as a miner will just get cut in half, and the fees will start going up, which means you will get more money. Why is that? Well, the fees probably stay the same. It's still, for example, 0.05 Bitcoin, but let me just show you the chart of the history of Bitcoin, because In the beginning of Bitcoin, block rewards were actually 25. You would get 25 Bitcoin. Problem is, Bitcoin was at around $600. So that's not that much of a profit. But the thing is, 4 years later, Bitcoin's already at $3,000. And even though the amount of Bitcoin that you get got cut in half, the amount that Bitcoin costs tripled, which means now you get technically more. For example, if you would get 10 Bitcoin, but Bitcoin costs $500, well, then you would get. I'm sorry, it shows. Whew. If you get 10 Bitcoin and Bitcoin was $1,000, you would get $10,000. And then let's just say your Bitcoin got cut in half and now you only get 5 Bitcoin, but Bitcoin rose to $2,000. See what I'm going with this? It's still $10,000. You will keep your money because the price of Bitcoin rises up relative with the block reward. And this has happened already 4 times, I believe. First, it happened to back in time when Bitcoin was at 25 blocks per block reward, Bitcoin per blocks, and then it fell down and it got cut in half to 12.5, and now it's at 6.25. So three got cut in half already, and it's about to get cut in half once again next year, and it will be 3.25. And of course, Bitcoin price has to rise up relative to this price action, so we could say that that's another reason Bitcoin could rise up in the long term. But very good question, a bit complicated. Another person asked, could the 21 million max supply limit be changed? A very good question, because there are 21 million Bitcoin on the chart, on the Bitcoin chart, and if we reach 21 million Bitcoin, could somebody come in and say, let's change the code and let's make it so that there's 27 million Bitcoin? So theoretically, yes, but practically, no. So technically, since the Bitcoin is all open sourced and there are changes in the Bitcoin code, you could see, for example, something called a hard fork where everybody agrees to Bitcoin. And if everybody agrees to Bitcoin, then for this new code to be accepted in Bitcoin, well, then it gets updated and everybody just starts following it. Problem is, that is never going to happen. So when code is being uploaded to Bitcoin, everybody needs to agree. All the miners that mine Bitcoin need to agree to this new code. And the fact that actually I have this in my save thing because it's so cool. The fact that there's an actual wiki that shows prohibited changes shows that most people will not agree to most of these changes. So if I can actually make it closer. So there are many different changes that are actually not allowed. For example, there are changes, for example, 21 million coins. Nobody's ever going to accept anything other than 21 million coins. You cannot change Bitcoin so that there's more than 21 million coins because it's, like they say up over here, changes, permission may be increased, but proportion must be unchanged. And that is because kind of the spirit of Bitcoin is that there's a set limit and nobody could get more than that limit. Bitcoin has a standard supply, which means its value will go up because there's that much Bitcoin. You cannot create Bitcoin. That's the whole entire theory with Bitcoin. It has a set supply. So changing that supply literally ruins the whole purpose of Bitcoin. But that's not the only thing. There's no censorship on Bitcoin. It's all open source. You can't hide any code. It's permissionless. No gatekeeper should prevent anybody from being a part of the network. No ID should be required. It's all fungible. So all coins should be equal. So you can't have a dollar that's worth more than a different dollar, for example, in Bitcoin, and you can't reverse transaction. These are most things that are fundamental principles of Bitcoin. And that means that even if somebody would come in with some code and try to change Bitcoin, it would not work because most miners will not accept it because that would be a fundamental change in the Bitcoin world that would cause Bitcoin to kind of mean a different thing. So the worst that could happen is they will automatically create a new coin, some kind of altcoin, which is actually how most altcoin comes out. Most altcoins you can see that are over here, there's actually over 12, that there's 10,000 coins over here on CoinGecko listed. Most of them actually come from just clones. Somebody got Bitcoin, they cloned it. So we can search a Bitcoin. If I search on Bitcoin, look how many Bitcoin there are. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. If I search a Bitcoin, you can see that there's Bitcoin, Bitcoin Z, Bitcoin POS, Bitcoin X, Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10 Eno. I don't know what that is. But Bitcoin punks, Bitcoin bud. Somebody just got the code because it's all free and made their own Bitcoin. Problem is, nobody's gonna go for it because it's not the original thing. They have the original Bitcoin. It solves nothing. So it'll probably get used as a place for somebody to dump some money. It'll not gonna cost that much. That's the worst that could happen because Bitcoin has a fundamental principle. You cannot have more than 21 million Bitcoin. So technically, yes, it could happen if everybody agrees, but the chance of everybody agreeing is literally zero. And without there are probably no questions left. I see no questions in the chat, so I guess I will end the stream unless anybody has any more questions in the chat that they want me to answer. And a quick recap while we're waiting if anybody writes anything in the chat. Bitcoin, there's so much tension in the charts. It's about to either fall down or rise up. 2 days left for us to see some huge momentum. Either we will fall down or rise up. And by the way, I did not do live streams on the weekend, so I will see you guys on Monday. And I see no questions in the chat, so I will end the stream right over there. This is the end of the live stream. I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Like this video if you really agree that Bitcoin's about to rise.